If you are new to Docker and have questions what Docker is and Docker images and containers and how Docker works, in this tutorial you will get answers to these questions and also the practical side of the Dockers. We're going to create Docker image and then containers, and also we're going to publish our Docker image on Docker Hub. Before we go to Docker, we have to know what is virtualization and how it works. So the simple way is creating virtual machines. On top of that, you're going to install your dependencies, and then your application will be running on different kind of virtual machines. So different virtual machines for different applications. But the easy way is now using containers. You have the same operating system, one computer, but then you can install a Docker engine on top of that, which is container engine also called. Then you can create different containers on top of that, and each container will contain your own dependencies and applications. One container is totally isolated from another one, and they have nothing to do with each other, but you can let them to talk with each other if you want using multi-container environment. And then you have to use Docker networks to connect these containers with each other. To use Docker, you have to know Docker components, which is three more important R's: client, and Docker daemon, and registry. The Docker client you're going to use to interact with the Docker daemon, and Docker daemon is there to manage the images and the containers running on the machine. And registry is a place where we're going to store our images. That could be private or also public. Docker image is another most important component that we have to use it to create our applications and containers on top of that. So Docker image is based on different layers, but always you need a base image. On top of that, you can install or configure your other images like this. In this case will be like Apache server. Then you can install Emacs, other dependencies, and then Apache web server. And on top of that, you're going to create your codes, and on top of that, you're going to create your containers. And from one image, you can have many different containers which will be running this at the same time, but the base image will be only one. So Docker image is a file compressed of multiple layers and used to execute codes in Docker containers. In simple words, images are just a set of instructions used to create Docker containers. So how we can get a Docker image? First, you have to create a Docker file. It's nothing except of just a few code of lines which will tell to Docker how to create your image. After you have the Docker file, using a command Docker build, you're going to create a Docker image. And after the image is there, then you can use Docker run to create a Docker container on top of the image. And container is a runtime instance of an image and allows developers to package applications with all parts needed, such as libraries and other dependencies. Multi-container environment will also possible just using Docker Compose, and you can run at the same time many container with only one command. We can see at the end of this video how we can create Docker image, Docker files, and also Docker containers. To publish our images on the public repository or maybe a private repository, then you have to first create your image, which will be a locally done public as a build image, and then you have to commit the image. And after the image is committed, then you have to push this image to the repository. That could be like Docker Hub repository, which is a public free repository. You can store your images there. After the image is there on the registry, so other people or other developers or the member of the other teams, they can pull that image and run and create a container on top of that on their own machine, and then they can test your applications. To publish an image, there are a few steps you have to take. The first is that as a developer, you're going to create a GitHub repository and you commit all your codes there. Using GitHub Actions, you can create as auto build Docker image, and then will be pushed this image to Docker Hub. After the Docker Hub has the image, so other people, you can give them the links, or you can give it publicly so people can download it back or pull it back to their machines and create containers using your image. But you can also use other images. They are public images that is like kind of open source, and you can create on top of that your containers.